Hello, this is Donna Williams, and I was going to continue now to tell you about my experiences with biopsy. So I had my mammogram on the 30th of June 2011. I got my results from the GP on the 8th of July 2011, and I was then booked in for biopsies a week later, and I went along with a friend of mine. They get you to get into a gown, which you put on back the front so it's open in the front. And I went into the very strange nuclear medicine room where I now laid down on the table, and they had the ultrasound machine next to me. So it's called an ultrasound guided biopsy, which means that they use the ultrasound to locate exactly where the cancer is, and then they put the biopsy needle in and pull out samples. So they take samples out. First thing they did, of course, was to give me a local anesthetic so that things were not going to be too painful. Then they located the cancer, and it was really wild to see my cancer on the screen, and able this time to actually talk to them about what I was seeing. So these were the scanning things done on the day of the biopsy. It's very hard to see. They started with checking my lymph nodes in my armpit to make sure that everything was okay. And these were the pictures where they were very happy that my armpit looked clear of cancer. And this one here, it's hard to see, but I wish I could get a good picture for you. Yeah, that's not bad. Anyway, this is my cancer here, this bugger just here. And under here, which you can't see very well, is muscle, and under the muscle is bone. And it looked really scary because it's this really jaggy, horrible, like a letter I or like a sideways H, like a bad graffiti writer did this, and its edges are creepy and, kind of look like they're sending, cancer out to the rest of my breast and endangering my body. And so when you see it, it's kind of empowering because you can see it's this small thing and you're a whole big person and it's just a small crappy thing that's living in there. But it's also scary because it's not a nice, mine is not a nice little contained one, It's little, but it's only 2.2 centimeters, which is not huge in cancer terms. Lumps can be anywhere from like 0.5 centimeter up to like 5 or more centimeters. And so I'm kind of, I'm roughly middle-ish, and so here it was. But a cancer can have more containment, or it can be, have really icky edges. And this over here is where they're putting the needle in through the cancer. So they come in through the breast and they go straight in through the cancer, and you can watch it as they're doing it, which actually is quite empowering because they're not doing things you can't see, And they actually, it's a special needle so they can take cores of flesh out. And it's really important that they do that. And so they took 2 of these. They went in and did a second one, take more out. It feels like someone's plucking something from inside your breast. It's very odd. And it has this sound that goes when the biopsy thing cuts the bottom of the tissue that they're taking. And this sample is really important. So don't be terrified of biopsy, because if they don't go and biopsy your cancer, they can't tell you what's going on. They can't tell you which kind of breast cancer you have, because there's many types of breast cancer. They all have very different treatments. They respond to different types of chemicals. You know, some are more aggressive, some are very slow growing, and they need to know all that information, and that's what the biopsy tells them. They can't get that information just from looking. They get, you know, this much information from looking, and then they get this much from doing biopsy, and then they come in and they take the lump out and they get this much more information. And yeah, so you know, it's, each thing is a different level of information, so don't be scared, because the more information they have, the more they can help you. And in my case, they took out these biopsies and then sent them off for study. And the people, you know, the doctors and everything are quite nice. And I think, in a sense, you know, I'm from a background of immune deficiency, and I kind of just settled into it because my life has been antibiotics and infections and, you know, all that stuff, procedures to try to get some immunity back. And so I just say, well, this is a new process. This is not new for me. It's a turn in the road of having, you know, a family history, 70% cancer rate on my mother's side, and my father also died of cancer, 59, had a couple of years dealing with cancer before he died. And it looks like a kind of 30% rate, 70% rate in my mother's generation, with pretty much almost all her siblings dealing with cancers from around, you know, late 40s, 50s. And then my cousins, I have 2 cousins who've been dealing with cancer, and it looks at the moment that each of us is 1 in 3 in our different families, so that looks about 30% by our generation. And we're all been dealing with cancers, you know, 30s, 40s stuff, so who knows what will happen as we get older. The rate might be higher. Anyway, I just didn't let my head fall off, really. I just say, okay, you're the people. I can't get in and take this out myself. You've got to do it. And then you trust them. And then the results came back. And when my results came back, it was invasive ductal carcinoma, not otherwise specified. There are different types of cancer cells that you can have. Some grow fast, some grow slow. The one I have 3 types of cells. 2 are fairly slow growing, but the origin of these is a very quite aggressive one. And the good side of that is that they got it very early. So cancers can be what's called in situ, which means they haven't broken out. And then when they break out, they become invasive. And mine had signs of having been an in situ and how it's now becoming invasive. So that's a quite early stage. And there's different types of in situ. So there's a in situ that has a very low chance of malignancy, and there's a in situ kind which has a very high chance, 100% chance of malignancy, and that was the kind that I had. So it has some features that say this grows fast, but the good side is that they found it early, so that was good. So next step is operation next week. So it's pretty much been every week. It gets crazier on Mars, and I see it that way, as that it's like as if I've just been conscripted into a study of life on Mars, and that's the way I'm dealing with it. So next week they will actually anesthetize me, put me out, and they'll be going in there and taking my cancer out, and they'll take out a lymph node to just be absolutely sure that when they biopsy it, they haven't missed cancer in my lymph system. And from there they will do a scan from my brain down to my toes to check all my bones and check that I haven't got cancer in other parts of my body because of my very strong cancer history and my history with immune deficiencies, but also, yeah, you know, often when people have cancer, it's just in one part, but if you have a very strong family history of multiple kinds of cancer, it's good to check that this isn't a sign that you've had things break out in different places. So that's what they'll do. And I am looking forward to really good results from that, because I would like to hear that it's really just confined to my breast. And after I get all that news and stuff, and the operation is healed from where they took the lump out, then we move on to radiation. So, and that's going to be an interesting process because radiation is quite challenging to the body. But some people find it more challenging or less challenging. And I am from a situation where I had chronic fatigue on top of my immune issues. And I fought that for 10 years. And I adapted and I went, you know, got sad, got mad, got up, you know. Chronic fatigue is really awful to live with. And if I can get through that and come out the other side, and I can get really sick from immune deficiencies and come out the other side, and I can be antibiotic resistant and fail to respond, you know, while I got infections for 7 months and still get up off the floor and come out the other side, then I'm sure I can deal with radiation. And then after that, if they start talking about chemo, I'll deal with that too. And because treatment for cancer is not like a lifelong sentence thing. It's probably going to be, you know, some months, maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. But in a big long life, you know, what is that? If you deal with that treatment, then you might be cancer free for the rest of your life. Or you might be cancer free for 5 years. You might be cancer free for 10 years. And I really don't care how many years I get to be cancer free, but I would like to just enjoy my life, including whilst I'm dealing with treatment, and to also come out the other side and know that it's a bit more carefree life than whilst I'm going through treatment. So that's kind of it. Thanks for listening.